Right, so welcome to All for United. We're going to be talking about today's game. I don't know how it's going to go. I'm still not in a very good mood in terms of the game itself. It wasn't a good performance, in my opinion, but we'll see what the panel think. I'm actually going to start somewhere really completely different, just to throw everybody off guard. So there's a little bit of breaking news coming out from the Premier League via David Ornstein, which is that Everton and Nottingham Forest are expecting to be informed on Monday. They have been found in breach of the PFL profitability and sustainability rules for the 3-year cycle, June 2023. Both are prepared to mitigate and will launch a robust defence. I'm just absolutely baffled by this now. So Everton are now going to be charged twice, and Man City are still pending 115 charges in the Premier League. This is an absolute shambles, is it not? It's mental.
It's a boys' club. It's a big boys' club, and Everton and Nottingham aren't in it. Man City will never see any charges brought to them. They'll have what happened with Chelsea, where they get 2-window ban, and that's all that happened. And they'll be there like they'll act like it's the biggest monstrosity known to man, when realistically they should be back playing in League Two, not where they belong. You know what I mean? I have no baffles with it. But what I'm saying is, you've also got to consider as well, when there's 115 charges and it's being contested, they have to do their due diligence. As much as I want it to happen where they get punished, but nothing will come from it.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Tone, because surely Everton and Forest now, going forward, just don't hand anything over. Just literally say to the Premier League, sorry, we're not going to hand it over. You keep charging us when we're trying to be honest with you, when we're trying to stay in these rules, etc. We're just not going to give you any more information. We're going to string you along for as many years as the lawyers can pay, and we're just going to carry on breaking the rules, because that's in essence what we're watching across, in Manchester. So I'm just baffled by it. I hear that Newcastle, according to some of these journalists, Newcastle are sweating a little bit on this as well. So they've announced that they've lost 73 million this year. They lost 70 million last year, which is 140 million. And apparently it's only 103 that you can lose. And they lost 30 million the year before. So it'll be interesting to hear why Newcastle haven't been charged yet. But it looks like Everton are going to get the second. I'll tell you what else will be interesting. Will that points deduction come for this year? And will it set anything from the previous ban that they've had? Is there anything in the background where if they break it again, it's a bigger punishment?
Makes you wonder, especially with Everton, if it's the second one they've been found guilty of in the same season, do they get a more severe punishment this time around?
Yeah, but it also made you think, well, they were charged with one thing. Back
10 million.
So then they clearly did. It's not just one charge, so why didn't they just say, well, here are all the charges? So
I think this is going into the new year, the new third year, if that makes sense. So they've been charged for the one previous. Now they're going to get charged for failing this one too. So someone I speak to is quite a bit of Everton fan, and he says that basically he was charged for, it was 10 million difference between the Premier League and their books, and it was to do with the stadium because he wasn't owner funded; it was a loan. So Everton thought that was okay, but the Premier League basically said that it's not okay, which meant it was 10 million over. So, I mean, again, I know, I get Tone's point in that it's complex, and 115 charges are a lot to sort of comb through. But if they're coming down this heavy, surely City are done.
Could it also be that Everton and Nottingham Forest are in the Premier League? They're potentially teams that could get relegated. So where City won't get relegated for some time. So if they were to get relegated, could they continue with their investigation? And what punishment could they do if they're out of the Premier League, for example, if you get what I mean?
Well, the EFL's finance rules are a lot stricter than the Premier League.
Yeah, exactly. But my point is, could they be punished for... How would you if they were to get relegated? You know, how would they get points deduction for breaking Premier League rules if they're not in the Premier League? So my point is they're looking at doing Everton, Nottingham Forest because they're potentially risks to not being in the Premier League, whereas Man City and not going to be in a relegation battle anytime soon. So that's probably why they're because it's easier to deal with them than it is City.
Yeah.
So, but I do
I mean,
agree.
Jarvis makes the point here. It's not 115 individual charges. It's 15, 20 the same breaches. I think I read somewhere it's 46 different breaches, but then they just repeated in circumstances.
What annoys me is it's just that the Premier League and the FA don't want to disrupt the golden boys of the Premier League at the moment. Like Man City are the best team in England right at the moment. It's current moment in time. They win everything. How bad would it be if all their success was majorly due to all this like litigation and all these like allegations being true? It
Not a
does
good
make
look, is it?
it's not a good look. So that's what also it's in their best interest to kind of string it along as they can. And obviously we're saying this not because we're better, but because also ultimately we want football to be a fair game. Like that's why we're against the Super League, because we want Man City, we want ourselves, we want Nottingham Forest, and we want every team in the Premier League to be treated exactly the same.
But if I was to say like, it's easier to do it with smaller teams, I mean Everton are a big club, but in terms of like lower in the league, but it's also like good teams like United, Liverpool and Arsenal, those kind of teams put pressure on Premier League. Well, you're punishing Everton, Nottingham Forest. You better do something with City and Chelsea.
Yeah, Jarvis makes a good point. The question you should ask is, do the FA make money from Man City's success? Obviously, it's the Premier League that's going head to head with them, so the Premier League would obviously make money. And again, Tone's right. It makes a little bit of a mockery if your current champions are being charged with endless amounts of stuff. But even if it's like if 10 million's got Everton 10 points and now they're going to be charged again, 115 charges is relegating Man City for sure. They're gone from the Premier League. And I suppose it's the difference for me is Everton and Forest and other clubs, including Man United, I think, with the way we see in the transfers, which will come on a little bit later, they're all trying to stick within the rules and they're working with the Premier League to say, look, we're doing our best to stay in these rules, and sometimes they've breached them. Like I think we had one where we paid a fine. We admitted to UEFA we made a mistake.
But we even acknowledged the mistake straight away. I think we pointed the mistake out, and then we paid the fine and accepted it handedly, which is the sign of a club that actually wants to practice the right way.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference. I think Man City are going against all the rules.
I do think City will get punished. I get these people that they'll get away with it. They will get punished. They've been punished before. Like casting exonerate them. It also, I know they can afford the best lawyers and all that, but it's if a man is charged with 115 attempts committing burglary, let's say, there's a chance not every one of them will be cleared, isn't there? The chances are most of them will be upheld, won't they?
I think for me as well, it's like if like Dan says there, if it's 10 points for 10 million, will their even if 50 of their 115 charges are upheld, will they then deduct 10 points for every charge? Will it be?
Would that be 1,150?
Put them in the National League North.
Finn makes a good point. I'm just going to call him Finn, even though his name is hilarious. Everton complied with proceedings and got 10 points taken off, and that's what I'm talking about. So Everton,
I know where this is interesting, but wasn't this meant to be Everton's last season at Goodison Park? And now it turns out
it's been delayed.
It's been delayed another year. Is this kind of thing that's going on potentially affecting Everton going to new stadium, possibly?
Can you imagine if Everton get out of the situation they're in and avoid relegation, just to be docked more points this season because of these seamlessly, really speedy fines they get in, and they get deducted points in the back in the relegation? There's so many lawsuits and stuff that could go off.
How many rules have Forest potentially broken?
It's just the one. It's the sustainability rule. So they would have lost more than 104 million over 3 years.
And how many? What about Everton?
It would be the same again, I think.
10. So they'd be on 7 points. So they'd go bottom Everton, and Forest will be on 10, and they'd be second. No. So If they were to be deducted 10 points each, Everton would go bottom on 7, Sheffield United will be on 9, and then Forest will be on 10. Burnley will be 17th on 12.
Flipping it. I just find
It's
it mad.
complicated, isn't it?
It's. I just think it's so strange. Like, I think it just comes down to the fact that these teams are doing their best to talk to the Premier League and be honest and open about their books and stuff like that. So I think that's the difference. Right, we'll move past it. We'll have to see what the obviously the Premier League say. I think it's weird that only Forest and Everton have been named because obviously there was the rumours about Chelsea, Newcastle, and a few more. To be fair, so it's an interesting one. It's one to watch out for. We've got to talk about the game. So
Do we have to?
it's going to be an interesting one because I think there will be a difference of opinion a little bit. I personally thought it was not great. We'll go to Dan first. He was on yesterday's show. We pretty much called it as a basketball game with the midfield being pretty much emptied. I was delighted to see Kulusevski not in it after we all basically said he was the danger man. I was a bit like, how much more of a chance have we got here because he's not there? What did you make of, say, the opening 45 minutes? What did you see through your eyes?
Yeah, I think the first 45 minutes was pretty much like that. It was very end to end. Rashford was getting a lot of space down that side, and to be a confident Rashford, if we rewound the year, if that was Rashford today, a year ago, he'd have at least got a couple more goals or at least a couple of assists. There was a lot of just running into blind alleys, which we're getting used to at the moment. But it was the midfield for me. Again, it's the same every week. It's the same every week. Like, as soon as I seen Eriksen, this isn't against Eriksen either. Like, I like Eriksen. He has his place in certain games. You know, if you're playing Luton at home, Burnley at home, and he can find that key pass kind of thing. But as soon as I seen that today, you just look and you go, it's getting overrun straight away. You know, I think Jarvis makes a good point there that it was like Werner and not Son. They could have been a lot more clinical up front. I think for the most part was second best really. They, you know, as soon as I seen their midfield against ours, like their midfield wasn't anything amazing on paper, but there were workhorses. Like Oliver Skip will run rings round them. You know, he's not a great player, but he'll work his socks off. Ben Tanker, he's a good player, you know, and you looked at it, Højbjerg is the same. It was so predictable, and that was the annoying part.
Yeah, you've said it there. Skip and Werner, bearing in mind Werner joined on Tuesday, probably barely trained with him this week. And Postecoglou is getting 10-15% higher quality of every single player in that squad. Even Son, even Kulusevski, Bentancur. He's raised the level. And even when they've got 6 or 7 missing for injuries through internationals or whatever, they still play the same way. You know exactly what they're trying to do, and there's a motive to what we're watching. So, how did you see it, John? Did you see it the same as Dan? Were you a bit more impressed, less impressed?
Brilliant performance from the women, beating Newcastle 5-0 through to the FA Cup next round. It was brilliant to see, and some people predicted a hard game. So yeah, it was wonderful. No, yeah, it was frustrating. I actually missed the start of the game because I was out, much like the Garnacho goal. So maybe the tip is that whenever I go out, we score an early goal. So on a Sunday, 4:30, but. No, I think it's we're just a bit crap, aren't we? Let's be honest, we are, and we just can't control the game. We know that, so it's kind of like you have to drop your standards to say, oh, it's okay that we're lucky to get a draw and all that. Although I did think that despite them having all that possession and they were slightly the best team overall, they didn't really create many chances aside from the 2 goals they scored. So they didn't perhaps make the most of the domination they did have at times. That's what I would say. And positives, obviously, Højlund getting his goal. He took his goal really well. And I thought overall he had a very good game. One of the few players who played well for 90 minutes, I felt. Rashford took his goal well. Obviously got an assist first one. I felt in the second half, much like United in general, I thought he dropped off and we didn't really do anything in the second half. It was just so disappointing. And, it's one of them, is it a point gain or is it 2 points dropped? If you look at the overall game, you'd say it's a point game, but we had to win. Plus, we did lead twice and we lost the lead twice, and we had the best chance of the game to win it at the end, which we should have buried, and, McTominay knows he had to bury that. So it's a mixture. It's not the worst performance we've had this season. I think a draw was probably a fair result in the end. I think Roy Keane, Zachary, you can praise Tottenham to a point, but I think even they didn't do enough to win. Inspire their possession. They might look at today and think that was a good opportunity to get a win at Old Trafford with that domination, because the chances are you're not going to dominate like that at Old Trafford again potentially. So you got to try and get a result. So they did get a result, and it's a good point for them. But it's one of them. It's you take it, you move on. I think.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't see it the same. I've got a few notes written down here. I literally put exactly how it was called yesterday on the show. Open basketball game. Like United leaving in massive gaps. Played well for about 45 seconds, which was the 2 shots on target. Other than that, no control of the ball, unable to have any control of the game. Shouldn't have had any sort of lead at halftime. Absolutely gifted a 2-1 lead. That's what I wrote. What did you make of the game, Tone?
I think you got to bear in mind Spurs are a better footballing side than United at the moment. And sometimes when you're up against a better footballing team, you got to take your chance when you got them. And for once, United actually did take the chances in the first half. I mean, I know me and John were talking about Rashford earlier, but I know he didn't have the greatest of games, but it was nice for him to get a goal and assist today, to be honest. Yeah. And hopefully it gets his confidence up. But Højlund today stole the show up top in that front three for United. In my opinion, he was chasing the game. He his desire. There's some games this season where I've watched him where he looks a bit shy and he looks a bit devoid of confidence. But today he looked like a player who wanted to get more goals. He wanted to get stuck in. And, I'm happy about that. In regards to United style of play, what we're saying is it's like Groundhog Day every single time we're on here. There isn't a style of play. United just hit and hope and go in the counter. There's no, but like Spurs were building from goalkeeper to defense. The transitions were mental, and the way they track back as well. Like, and you bear in mind that's not even their best. That's probably one of their worst starting 11s they've got. That in their midfield, Son weren't playing. It's a strange one really how good they could be if they give Andrew a bit more time and a few more players. But if you told me to start the game, we'd draw the game 2-2 with a massive chance to win at the end and miss. I guess I probably would have taken it. How bad we've been recently.
Yeah, you've said something that's piqued my interest there, which was Spurs. Spurs are a really good football inside. So
they are good in transitions.
I must say, I think the show last night, as much as Spurs have done well, I don't think they've been great. And I know.
I don't know what you've been watching then, John. Because
I've seen
they're 4th in the Premier League.
You were praising them.
They've been fantastic.
The way they played against Chelsea.
No, we weren't. What we said was, he doesn't go away from his style of play no matter what. Now we all agree that against Chelsea it was madness to be pushing up that high.
But I think also you got to factor in they've had some pretty big losses as well.
That's what I'm trying to say, John. Considering who they've lost,
they do have a style of play, but I do think this kind of thing that Tottenham have been amazing, but they haven't been amazing. They've been good. They've been very good, and I have watched them regularly.
I think with Spurs, you've got to remember as well. I know this isn't a Spurs channel, but I'm just going to defend it a little bit. They lost the star man in the summer, Harry Kane. He's gone to Bayern Munich. They've replaced him with players that the majority of us have never heard of. Vicario, Van der Ven, players like that. Undoggy, and the absolute I do think still building.
the other factor is, and I've said this and it's important, but they've not had Europe this year.
No.
That is
That
a
always
bigger
helps.
thing. That's a big thing. And he's been able to have 3 weeks to implement his style. Plus, they have better technical players. And while the Harry Kane has gone, yes, and that's a big loss, and they've done well considering. However, they do have players like
Richarlison.
Kulusevski, Richarlison, players like
you,
that who can play a
you've
style.
piqued my interest
football.
again here, because you've said it now. Dan said it as well. Tone said it. So I've got to say, I completely disagree in terms of Spurs. Spurs have been fantastic this season.
They haven't been fantastic. They've been
no,
good. They've been good.
When a new
very
manager
good,
comes
not
in like
fantastic.
that and he loses the best player at the club by an absolute distance, in one of the best players in the world, in fact, and I mean, Harry said it yesterday. Spurs were tipped to finish quite lowly after Kane left. The way that he's got this team together. No, I'm not saying you do. I'm saying a lot of people looked at it and thought, no, Kane, the squad looks threadbare. People are acting as if Spurs were in a good place before the start of this season. They weren't. They were in a pretty bad place.
I honestly thought Tottenham they couldn't be worse than last season. And
but what I'm saying is
them
came
not
in,
being in Europe would be a massive thing.
Yeah, but he's came in. They're fifth in the Premier League, joint on points with Arsenal. They've missing 6 or 7 players. The best players currently at Thingy, they're still absolutely battered off the pitch today. They've won 4 of the last 6. They've only lost 1 of the last 6. They're in some incredible form. They scored 44, conceded 31. Goal difference of plus 13, which is 18 better than we are. They're currently 8 points above us. I get what you mean in terms of like it's this. There's still a good side, but I'm just going to go back to it in terms of they're a better footballing side than we are.
Oh, they are.
But if we read 1 to 11 of the side that played today, you would pick arguably 6 or 7 Man United players over their players as better footballers. So how are they then a better footballing side than us?
It's a mentality, and it's coaching, and it's in implemented environment. Like United's environment is toxic, man. When do you ever hear positive stories coming out of Carrington about United at the moment? You never do. It's always someone's bickering, someone's angry out there, someone's throwing their toys out of the pram. Whereas at Tottenham, I know we're a bigger club than Tottenham, and I know there's going to be more publicity on us, but ultimately, you don't hear anything at Tottenham because
it's the weight of the shirt as well, isn't it?
Though, United attracts news, though.
Yeah, we said that. It's the weight of the shirt, United, as well. Yeah. But this is more praise for Tottenham, and this is what I like what Andrew's done. He's come and he's stamped his style on the team, and he said to certain players, no matter who they are, if you cannot play this way and you can't do what I'm asking, you have no future here, no matter what your name is, no matter how well you played last season, etc. So it's frustrating to see that, which takes him to the next point. And I'm interested to hear this one because everyone's had a pop at Dallo at some point that's sat here. Aaron Wan-Bissaka at left back. What?
Funny.
Anybody explain to me?
What's funny, he swapped the back four. It was the same at Wigan. He's just swapped them out, including the centre halves.
Why?
You tell me.
I can't. That's why you're in.
Only Ten Hag knows why.
The only thing I can think of, and I swear it's probably the only thing, Pedro Porro is brilliant going forward for Tottenham. So he might look and think he was the bigger threat. So with that, and he probably thought Wan-Bissaka is perhaps a better defender than Dallo when it comes to marking, a fullback. That's possibly the only. But I also think he probably set up the team today thinking Shaw would be ready to play. And he would have played Dallo right back, so he would have prepared the team that way. So it was perhaps the easier decision to put Wan-Bissaka there. As for Varane and Evans, I find that even more baffling.
Yeah, I know Varane's all right on his left again as well, isn't he? So
I just don't get it. And I look at that second goal that they scored, and would he have scored that if Varane was on that side?
Well, would he have scored that if Wan-Bissaka was on that side?
Yeah, I agree. I was just about to say that. I think if Wan-Bissaka was on the right side as well, that goal maybe doesn't happen. But you're right with Evans as well, because he's left-footed. He hesitated. But if
shocking news here, Dan.
Yeah.
Evans is not left-footed. Okay,
Is he
I've
not?
been hammered for this season.
He's no-footed.
Right? He's technically he's ambidextrous, but he is actually right-footed.
Oh, is he?
But he's very good on his left foot, which is why people think he's left-footed. Johnny Evans.
He's right-footed.
Yeah, Johnny Evans is right-footed.
That's news to me.
It's mad, honestly. I had this at the start of this season because I said that the reason he plays on the left.
Why on earth has he always banged on this season about, he needs a left-sided player?
Because he's really good on his left foot. It's like he can basically play with both, but he's more naturally
and
right.
All of a sudden, Varane develops a left foot for this game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, in a word, Wan-Bissaka at left back, did it work? Yes or no?
No.
No.
So you don't want to see him play in their next game, no?
No.
Get Luke Shaw back on.
I can't believe it.
Luke Shaw's coming back and he's going to win us everything.
Everything's going to change in it, Tony.
We'll win every. I guarantee we win.
Oh, get Alvaro Fernandez in. Oh, wait, he's off to Benfica.
So, speaking of Wan-Bissaka, actually, how did he possibly get booked for that tackle?
Yeah, I know. He won the ball.
The refs are shit.
He's just.
I want to talk about that ref.
Oh, why?
There's a lot, mate. That if we're talking about the foul that Tottenham got for the shirt pulling, right? 5 minutes after, yeah, and then 5 minutes earlier, he got absolute strength, like hugged in the box, and that's not a penalty.
Yeah, I love this.
Football's getting me, like, honestly, like, if it's a foul outside the box and it happens in the box, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, that's a penalty.
So that is literally my next point. So I've put, I mean, me and John had discussions about Jota and Fernandez, who I both think died. And I also think that Garnacho goes down easy. However, if you give the Jota one and you give the Fernandez penalty and you give the Richarlison tug, that has to be a penalty. There's no... For it to be consistent, he's literally giving him a cuddle and then let's go with him.
It's baffling, and this is my point and I would debate to this week about the Fernandez penalty. He doesn't get the foul if he doesn't go to ground, and yes, he does go down easily, but that's the only way he's going to get the foul, And Garnacho, he is holding him back, and does he prevent Garnacho against the ball? Tugging goes on. You never get fouls for tugging in the penalty area, but
Sin's a
for
bad
some
man.
random reason, when Garnacho, he did go to ground easily, of course he did, but he's not going to get the foul if he doesn't go to ground.
I think he needed to wriggle his arms a little bit more as he was running away instead of falling over. Yeah. But I just in terms of consistency, I didn't really get it.
I would also say we did have a bit of an opportunity after we got the second goal. Well, before the end of the first half, we did have a couple of chances before then. I was thinking that was a missed opportunity to potentially get a third goal, I think.
I genuinely, I mean, Dan, I don't know whether you agree or not, mate, but I genuinely think that we wasted, again, a lot of stuff on the break. I thought Rashford was awful today. He did a celebration, which he can do his celebrations all he wants, etc. It's off his down to him. I'm not really fussed. But he ran away doing this. And I don't think he's in a position to be doing that. He was awful in the term. Like, I stuck up for him last game. I thought he played quite well. He got on the ball, etc. He was doing that again today. He was trying to get on the ball, but his decision making was poor. His passing was poor. His crossing was poor. He didn't have anything going in his favour today. He was just not fantastic. And then, to be fair, I thought he'd got in the way. Him and Højlund got in each other's way when Højlund scored, and then the same with the second goal. I thought they were sort of getting in each other's way. It turns out it was quite.
No, I think that was a good goal.
Yeah, it was a really good. When I saw it back,
Yeah.
I thought it was a really good one too, wasn't it? Because I just thought they've got in each other's way here, but it's a really good one too.
I think the first goal, it's a bit cheeky to kind of give Rashford an assist because he just done his usual and ran into a blind alley, and Højlund took it off him. rather than Rashford giving him the
They
ball.
all count. They all count.
I mean,
Dan.
yeah, but
Great
it's just a
finish.
bit of a cheeky one, isn't it? Saying it was an assist when you think,
Yeah.
was it really? Like, did he
No,
deliberately
like,
take it in the?
the only thing I'd give him praise for today was that goal. He took his goal well.
It was a good finish. Good finish.
It was a good finish, but yeah, I agree. He didn't do much else. And, you know, all that talking and all that. Well, Marcus, you only did one good thing today.
That celebration really wound me up, but I didn't actually see it at the time. I was celebrating the goal. I only seen it when I watched the goals back.
Afterwards,
I was like, "What?" I was like, "What's this about?" And then I seen Keane and Neville talking about it, saying, "You know, you need to do the performances on the pitch before you can start worrying about things like that." And I totally agree.
Notice he's not doing his
Yeah,
anymore because he ain't focused.
No,
It's out of fashion now, isn't it? Didn't he try copyright? Did people say someone say like anyone who else did it was stealing it from it? It's been around for years.
I can remember when
pointing
was
at his
it
head.
Yeah,
like,
but
Gareth Bale
copyrighted
tried
it.
to
It's not
copyright
like
the love art.
copywriting it's not like an old Gallagher copywriting every song that's ever
Every
written
word.
to steal it for his latest song, is it? You know, it's just
Thoughts on Dalot and Wan-Bissaka playing difference? We've just discussed that, Finn. Nobody wanted to see it. It did not work. I want to make one more point on that actually before we move on. We've sent Reguilon back, which again I think most of you agreed that was the right thing to do. We're now selling Fernandes to Benfica, which again,
I'll tell you another baffling. Sorry, I should say this. Another baffling thing from today: Casemiro unused sub.
Yeah, I've got that later, John. So we're going to.
Oh, sorry.
Stop spoiling it, John.
Yeah,
come on, John.
You're killing me notes. Yeah. So, how is it that Ten Hag thinks that two right backs playing left back is better than giving a chance to a 20-year-old that's got looked like he had a really promising future at the club? Bearing in mind the season's dead. I don't care what anybody says in terms of Premier League, and better than having a proper left back in Reguilon. Because I get Dan and John weren't a huge fan of Reguilon, but he wasn't that bad, and he was better than Wan-Bissaka.
No, I just think I didn't mind Reguilon, but he was like basically he did put in some good performance. My point was that he came in as an emergency because our left backs were injured, and then he got injured himself, which isn't a great look. It was a bit like Marcel Sabitzer. Yeah. He did a job last season, but the problem is because he.
But why have we sent him back then? If we're now playing a right back at left back,
because the 10 million we're going to use for Fernandes is going for our loan deal for Garlo, who's going to play up front the second half of the season.
Benzema.
Get a Garlo, roll it back a Garlo. Benzema's never coming to us in a million years.
I said this morning on Twitter, I said that
sounds like the most
even on Love Island.
They've definitely seen us talking about that last night and gone, yeah, we'll just throw it out there. It's like, we'll paper talk it. It's going to be amazing. So, right, I've got one more point on the first half, which we'll go to Tone first and then we'll talk about it separately. Onana, not coming off his line. I'm confused now because this is what he does and this is why we bought him. Is it not? Is it in it? So I've got here, is it a coaching issue? Because he's very much reverted to what De Gea was doing. So he's sticking to his line. He won't come off. What do you think the reason is?
I don't think it's worked. I don't think he's worked at United so far. I don't think he's actually as good as what he was hyped up to be. I think there's a lot of things. He's obviously a very good goalkeeper. I think people calling him crap, this, that, and the other. I haven't watched him play in the past. He's obviously a very good goalkeeper. But to be a good goalkeeper at United, to be great at United, you need so much more than just to be a good goalkeeper. You need a mentality. You need to be a leader. You need to have that mental strength. And I just don't think he has it. I think he crumbles a little bit. There's certain things that he was doing last season for Inter Milan that he's not doing now. That second goal last season's Onana saves that goal. He comes out and stops it at source. And he just doesn't do it anymore. And it's every grot that he just it's just I want to blame. I don't want to blame anyone for it because it's not like it's a howler. Like it's a good goal, but it's something that is avoidable if you just do the fundamentals right. And I think for me, I'm looking forward to seeing Binde play for a couple of games. I feel like it'll be good to see someone else have a chance. If he flops, he flops. You know what I mean? But it can't be any worse than what Onana's been doing at the moment. And I'm saying Onana's not had a lot of howlers recently, but he's not really made things like he's not really set himself alight like in terms of like performance wise. It's a weird one. It's something now where I could see it being a year, 2 year thing with him. I can't see us sticking too long with him if he keeps playing the way he is.
Do you see him saying as long as Ten Hag stays?
I think if Ten Hag goes in the summer, I think he goes.
Yeah. What about you, John?
I think we probably say another year. I think, but his confidence with him. I think his head's all over the place. He shouldn't play today. He should be already at AFCON. And that's the bottom line of it. And he didn't come out for the first goal. I don't blame him too much for the second goal. I think I put that more on Johnny Evans and Delo letting his man run past, and it was poor from Johnny Evans, and in fairness on Onana, I think it was similar to Højlund's goal in that it was kind of like past him before he could even react, I guess. So he was in a decent position. He was marking his near post, thinking Evans might cover the far post then. But basically, I think you got to give credit to Bentancur for the finish itself, and I don't think anyone could have saved it, to be honest. But the first goal, that was a calamity, really. From now they should be coming to claim for it, but why Wan-Bissaka isn't jumping for the ball. Evans was caught underneath it. Why is Dallo not marking the far post? It's just a collection of errors, and I'm getting sick and tired of saying that he should have gone to AFCON. I suppose the best case scenario is if he does play for Cameroon, hopefully they go long into the tournament so they can build a bit of confidence and, just see where he goes from there. But, what else is there to say?
I don't know. You tell me, Dan. What else is there to say?
I think pretty much it's all been said, really. I think, I think Onana's been poor since he's come, but I think that today for me it wasn't even just a goal. There was the corner just before half time as well where they hit the bar. It was identical to the same ball from the goal that they'd scored, and he still stood on his line. And now for me, I was never like one of the big defenders of De Gea, but I could see his flaws. But for me, that was a situation where we got rid of somebody because of these reasons, like getting stuck on his line, not coming and commanding his area. And we signed Onana because he was meant to fix all these problems. And if anything, we've downgraded and we've got more problems now than what we had when we had De Gea.
We've got the same problems, haven't we?
Yeah,
We've got the same problems we
not
had
even
before.
that good.
Yeah.
His distribution's not even that great either.
To be fair, Tony,
I think that's more on the team.
We mentioned that yesterday. We were saying that last year when he was kicking to Inter Milan players, they was up for the fight. They would try for the first ball, try for the second ball. He's kicking it long for us, and nobody gives a rat's. They just like, I might have a run, I might have a jump. They're not a physical side. Today we was absolutely dominated in terms of physicality. Garnacho, I thought, really struggled with the first 15 minutes. He was getting bullied, absolutely
got
bullied.
Marked out the game.
Yeah, he didn't have the greatest. And Mainu looked a bit out of place at times. I felt bad
so
for him.
Sorry. Yeah, I felt.
He
sorry
doesn't need to be playing those sort of games. He's not ready for them yet.
Well, if he is playing those sort of games, it should be next to Eriksen.
Well, right, and we'll come on to it, Dan.
Yeah.
Well,
come on to it for sure.
With someone who didn't play today.
So the last point I wanted to make on that is I'm starting to wonder, maybe somewhat naively, that I haven't thought about it sooner, is that the issues we're seeing are from coaching and not from players. So I don't know who's looked at that team and looked at that lineup and gone, you know what's a good idea? Kobe Mainu marking Romero at corners. That really big, aggressive Argentinian bloke that will literally stamp on you if you go near him against an 18-year-old kid that's finding his way in the game. Yeah, you mark him. That's a good idea. It's got to be the same person that's saying, stay on your line. The best bit of defending I saw from the corner was Dallo going back to the line instead of pushing out and clearing the ball off. So have we sort of? I mean, I'll take the blame for it. But have I blamed De Gea for stuff that he's been coached to do? So is that just the way we're setting up? So is that the problem? And it's
I'm
not
not.
necessarily the goalkeepers or defence; it's the coaching.
Yeah, I've not really thought about it until you mentioned it, Dan. But honestly, now you mention it, you could be onto something.
You don't know, because since this Eric Ramsey came in, a goal output from corners has gone way down, and a goals conceded from corners and set pieces has
I
gone way up.
can't possibly think it's a coaching thing that a goalkeeper must stay on his line for a corner kick. I honestly can't.
No,
honestly, goalkeepers get told
yes,
certain
the
things.
setup, yes, but for me, I can't see how Eric Ramsey tells our goalkeeper, "You must stay on your line at corner kicks."
But Eric Ramsey's the one that's told Minu to mark Romero.
Yeah, exactly. I blame him for the setup. Of
Yeah,
course,
so
I do,
so what he might be saying,
he's wrong for the setup and everything, but the goalkeeper, for me, you come out and if you're confident, you come out and take the pressure off.
Yeah, no,
your
but this is what I'm
defense.
saying, John. So he was really confident last year. He would have come for these corners. He would have
Exactly.
been off his line. He'd have been
He's not
barking at the
confident.
defenders, and he's not doing it. And is he not doing it now because has Eric Ramsey said to him, "We let the defenders mark the box. The goalkeeper stays on the line," just like De Gea never used to move. I used to think, "Oh, De Gea's just not coming. He's not brave." Is it coaching? We'll find out, because if Eric Ramsey ever leaves,
De Gea never did it though.
He
never did it under Fergie.
No, he's never been very good at it. Yeah.
So that's what I mean. That's on De Gea. I personally can't see how a keeper not coming off his line is a coaching issue. I just can't see it.
From playing in goal for like years and stuff, I can tell you that's confidence. It's his confidence. It's literally, you either fancy, like in a challenge, when a player falls out of a challenge, backs out of a challenge, you either fancy it or you don't fancy it. There's been moments where I've had a corner come on me and I've gone, I don't fancy coming out for this. I don't fancy that big fella who's going to batter me if I come out. You know what I mean? And I've bottled it. But I'm saying goalkeepers do think like that. They go, I don't fancy this. I feel like I'm going to get in this situation here. And I'd rather, if you're on your line, even though we're arguing that it should be coming off his line, you're ultimately, their blame's delegated away to the defenders if the goal goes in. Because ultimately, if you're on your line and it goes top bins a header, where you could go, well, there's nothing I could have done about that. It's a top binner. Ultimately, if he comes out, he mitigates that risk. There's so many variables that go into it. But it's a confidence issue. Onana last season does it.
I do wonder as well, we're saying about like he was like that at Inter, but even you think first game of the season, the Wolves game, he was off his line because he nearly took that bloke's head off, didn't he?
Yeah.
Could have got a penalty.
Like he's gone backwards.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you rather him risk that?
Yeah, I would.
Could that negatively impacted him, all the media and everything?
Yeah,
and
I agree.
To his head, I might give a penalty away if I come off my line. And it's
I agree.
I did have one little bit of defence for the defence and for Onana in this. Pedro Porro's deliveries today were absolutely top class. Like, some of them, you just can't defend. When it's hit with such whip, perfect height, and all you need to get is a glance and it's powered into the back of the net, you know that it's a decent ball. So, second half, what going on?
About Porro, I watched him play today, and a lot of people said he's been the best right back in the Prem. I think attacking wise, you might have a case for it, but defensively, he was awful. He let in he was really bad. I weren't impressed with him defensively at all. I just thought attacking was.
That's how Rashford got so much space, because he was
too
busy.
Honestly, he gave Rashford all the time in the world, and if Rashford had a bit more about him, he'd have got 3 or 4 today.
Yeah,
it's that key word we used yesterday. We used bravery. So, not Tenor. Postecoglou plays in a way where Porro is one of the best right backs going forward, because the defensive side goes out the window. You're defending basically by scoring goals and from the front, and that's what we failed to do, which might explain why you swapped the two. But that, to me, that is a negative, because he's not trusting Dallo to do what he's done. It's square peg round holes. So we got to half time somehow 2-1. I still don't understand how he was winning 2-1. Everybody knows the record at Old Trafford. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's on like 283 wins, 42 draws, no losses when we're leading at half time. It's absolutely mental.
It should also be said we've not actually lost any Premier League game
At Old Trafford,
when
when leading at half time.
yeah, but also for 10 years we've not lost any Premier League game in the last since that Leicester 5-3 in 2014 under Van Gaal. That was the last time.
What, when winning?
Well, we were winning at half time. We lost the game.
I
That
can
was the
remember that.
last time.
In
2014.
home and away, you mean? Because that was at the
Yeah,
King Power.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
you've
you
set
know
me
what,
off now, though, because I can
it's
remember that
close
Leicester
to-
game, and we got absolutely fucking
That was
robbed.
the last time we led at half time and
I
lost.
can remember the
game.
Raphael penalty that they give, and it's an absolute joke. Vardy chucks himself on the floor to make it 3-1. No, you've right, anyway, we'll move past that. So we go into the second half. That record is very much at the front of my mind. We go 45 seconds, 52 seconds into it, and it's 2-2. What happened, Dan?
It was just criminal, wasn't it? When you watch it back, like Manu got suckered into pressing when he shouldn't have pressed. Which I'm not criticising him. You know, like I said, the game itself, he should have had Casemiro next to him, in my opinion. Like he shouldn't have been left on his own, exposed. But as soon as they got in, they showed us what we should have done in the first half when we were getting the space and we had a man over, and they played it right. I think obviously Evans. I think obviously he just he looked like he was still kind of warming up. He was still warming up. He hadn't started the second half yet. I think I seen Roy Keane blaming Anana for the second goal, and you know, you could maybe make a little argument for it, but I think it's harsh to blame the keeper. I think he absolutely leathered it, didn't he? And it was a good finish, but there was just so much that could have been avoided.
Individual mistakes again.
Yeah, same again.
Yeah. What did you make of it, Tone? It was the perfect start to the second half now?
For Tottenham, yeah, absolutely. For us, not so much. I think I said this in the group chat earlier. I said if Martinez is replaced Evans at half time, that goal doesn't go in. Martinez stops it. That's not a knock on Evans. Martinez has a bit more pace about him and has a little bit more edge to him. He's just a better player than Evans is now. That's not a bad knock on Evans. He's catching on, but yeah, it's such a bad first thing you never should do in football is give an open chance in the first minute of a game, so easily cut open. And you know, it's elementary stuff. And I know Ten Hag was barely out of the tunnel when that went in, and seeing that all your hard work at half time gone to crap in the space of 45 seconds. You know, and I did think the record was up for grabs after that. I did think the floodgates would open a little bit. I thought, you know, Tottenham have sussed us out and we're going to be there for the taking. And, you know, fair play to us. We stuck at it, I think.
Yeah, honestly, I thought exactly the same. I thought once that second, the equaliser went in, I thought if this record goes, then I'm going to have some... I'll be absolutely fuming come the end of this. I think whoever's in charge when that record goes should be instant sacking. Don't care who it is. Once that record, that is the same as the youth one. If that record ever goes under a manager, they should be gone straight away. What did you make of the start to the second half, John? Obviously, not the best. Did Spurs really have to work that hard to get back into it?
No, they caught us off guard. It's our team switched off for the first time this season. No, it was awful. Dilly dally dallo on the right back positioners again, and you're right, Manu stepped in, and Johnny Evans. I mean, I do like him, but his legs are gone, aren't they? They're just. It's like. I do like him, but it's a sign of desperation when you get him on a 1-year contract because he was playing with the youth team in on the pre-season thing, and it's just like because we can't afford anything, and this is what we're left with. And I do agree, Martinez, bring him on at half-time, but if Varane was there, I don't think he scores. I don't think, and I also think that. That defensive setup was just abysmal, and it cost us the game. Literally, it did. And yeah,
I've got another question.
It reminded me little bit. I know not everyone supports women's team, but in November we played City at Old Trafford, the women's team, and Mark Skinner did something similar. He swapped his centre halves round, and it made absolute no sense, and we lost the game, and the players didn't know what to do. And the team play like that today. At least why didn't he just go with the same back four that we had against Wigan that kept clean sheet, and we were, like we should have scored more, but at least we kept a clean sheet. And but for the first minute, that chance they had, but it was solid. I don't know why he just didn't stick with that, and it leads to confusion. The team themselves probably were a bit like, what we're supposed to do. Ericsson's another one I like him, but he's just not.
He's not good enough. I mean,
exactly. It's just that, and I felt sorry for Mainu. I thought he was. It wasn't a game. People say it wasn't a game for him. No, it's a game for him if he has someone next to him, like a Casemiro and Ericsson. It's just Ericsson. It's like the what's his name? Mount argument. It's him and Fernandez. It should be Ericsson or Fernandez. It's that, and they all bring him on as a sub, and that kind of thing. Again, I just don't understand what we're trying to do today. It's just like throw everything out, throw the cars up and see what lands. And I don't know.
It's frustrating for me because he talks about consistency in his back four, and that's what's throwing the goalkeeper off, etc. And then he mirrors it for absolutely no reason other than maybe to try and mark Porro out the game. But surely, again, obviously, this he's a much better tactician than I'll ever be. But surely you give it 10. If you've got that planned, you surely start normal and see what happens in the first 10 minutes and then swap. You don't just do it for the sake of swapping. And my other question now would be then, we've got the young lad on the bench, Kambala.
Well, yeah.
Why not play him? Johnny Evans is not the future of Manchester United. In no way, shape or form should he be there now and should he be there next year. Does that mean I think he's played badly? No. I'm just saying that he shouldn't be. If they've got high hopes for him, why are they not starting him? He's pacey, he's quick, he looks good on his cameo appearances. Why not stick him next to Varane?
I think the problem is the fact of like Ten Hag's not looking at it the same way me and you were looking at it. He's looking at it in the sense of who's going to provide him the best result and the most mature response today.
Not these players, Tone.
Well, no, 100% agree with you, but he believes that whether or not we agree with him, I disagree with him. I think I think it's sad that a player like Johnny Evans still plays for Man United. That's not a knock on Johnny Evans. He's been a great servant for United, but
and he's been half decent.
You know what I mean? That's like saying Arbeloa played for Real Madrid should go back to him because he was nice to. He was a good player from 15 years ago. You know what I mean? Like these are the things that United are doing that other big clubs aren't doing, and that's why we're not a massive team anymore. We're still a big club and we're still well supported, but in terms of on the football pitch, we're crap.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
No arguments. No
elite mentality.
No. So I've got my little notes that I made as I was watching the game. Spurs were better after half time for 10 minutes in every single way, shape, or form. 78% possession at one point, absolutely battering us. There was nothing on the counter attack. We kept giving the ball away. So I'm a manager watching that game where there's big gaps in midfield. We need to get back into the game. We bring on Scott McTominay for Ericsson. What do we make of that, John? Good decision?
It's well, in fairness to McTominay, he does impact games off the bench. We saw at Brentford, didn't we? And so he's capable of doing a job for us. And if he had put that header in, I think it is just his intelligence. Like he had two chances today. One he dragged by when he Garnacho was open on the right. It's just that intelligence, isn't it? And he just, I don't mean to be disrespectful to McTominay, but he's just, he is kind of like a fan playing with a bit of ability, if you know what I mean. Like he gets the passion, he gets the drive, and he does try to, he does work for the team, but it's just like, he's a limited footballer, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way.
He's
one
playing at
of
the very
those.
top of his level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So he can. His level is a mid-table team pushing, or he can be a squad player for United. He is capable of doing that, and he was unlucky with his header. He should have done better, but there's only so much he can do. And I was just thinking, that this fixture last season. That was arguably our best performance on the Ten Hag, wasn't it? It was only 2-0, but it could have easily been 5 or 6. And that the midfield that there was Casemiro and Fred. And I never
Miss
thought
Fred.
exactly. And
I
I'm
miss Fred.
like, Fred was doing Fred. We don't realise just how much we miss his energy in midfield. And I just think what we've ended up with, if we had Fred playing for us this season, we would have been in a better position. I'm sure of it. In terms of we would have controlled games better, it's a year today since that comeback against City. It's like Fred practically marked De Bruyne out the game for most of it, and that's what he brings. And we missed that. And the other game and the other situation is, why did he not bring on Casemiro?
Yeah.
Well, why didn't he bring him on?
So
I
I want to get Tone's opinion on that because I know he's got to shoot soon. So
Yeah, go on.
Tone, if Casemiro is on the bench, he surely should be fit to play football.
Right.
So
As soon as I
why?
hit, yeah,
Why? Just why, Tone?
I don't know. Maybe saving him for another get. I don't, mate. I ain't got a clue. Honestly, I could be standing. When I saw that Eriksen was coming off, my face was like, that Roy Hodgson meme where he's like looking really excited, and then McTominay comes on and he goes, oh, puts head down, like that's how I felt. And that's not me being hot because I love McTominay, but I love McTominay the same way I love John O'Shea. You know what I mean? Like in a sense of, yeah, he's a good player and everything, but he shouldn't be starting for Man United. He should be coming on the last bits of the game where you need an option because he's not a deep line midfielder. So I don't know why he keeps playing there. It's mad that us who are, like, to be fair, we're just fans. You know what I mean? And we can spot out things that an elite manager should be spotting out. Like McTominay was not going to change the game today, and he didn't. And ultimately, you have someone like Casemiro on the bench who's defensively capable, can progress the game, can score goals. And if he's fit enough to be on the bench, surely he's fit enough for 30 minutes to come off the bench. You know what I mean? That's where my logic lies. But ultimately, you got to back Ten Hag and what he does. But ultimately, it's the sign of madness. Keep playing hoping. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. It's not gonna change the fact that McTominay ultimately isn't a great footballer. He's limited in that sense, but he does get his body in the right positions, and he does get us a few goals here and there. So I guess that's the pros and the cons for him. But I never thought I'd say I'd miss Fred. But
Sorry. So can I just briefly interrupt, because I obviously watch in the US the commentary, and the pundit who was on kept on saying, "Oh, United have been out running the midfield. They've got McTominay as an option on the bench."
I genuinely do not get where they've got this.
I didn't even know. I mean, I was late. I didn't see any of the lineup or the bench or anything. I did not know Casemiro was on the bench today. And I was like, why did we? Why? It's like, and this pundit is like, oh, it's a special role for you today. It's the 400th live game you've done for NBC or whatever. It's like, oh, I'm not one for platitudes and all that. It's like, you've watched United all season. How on earth can you not see McTominay coming on as sub? Will give us control in the midfield.
I genuinely don't get where people have got this. He's a strong tackling defensive player.
He did
I honestly ain't got a clue.
He did point a good tackle when he came.
Yeah, literally about 2 minutes after he came on. Yeah.
So.
But Dan, you'll be able to maybe help me out a little bit. When you're watching that game, I'm thinking we need to plug these gaps because Spurs
Hmm.
are going to get a third if we don't. McTominay's not the man to do that. So what could be going through Ten Hag's head that thinks that this style of play is start to work? Never mind continue to work, but it's going to start to work. It's worked once against Bournemouth, and that was when
Brentford.
McTominay came at Brentford. Yeah, when McTominay came
Yeah.
off the bench. I don't get what he's seen that makes you think it's going to work overall.
I mean, for me, I've just felt like I was screaming, going, like, did you learn nothing from the Forest game? Like, you brought him on at Forest, and I mean, it wasn't just his fault, but arguably it cost us the game, that one decision. And you're thinking here, you know, like, it could have been a masterstroke in the end if he'd scored that header. But for me, it was, why is Casemiro on the bench? I said last night on the show, I would have started him, even if it just meant he played 45 minutes and we took him off at half time. I think the game was that important because, like, we don't play now for how long do we not play for now? Couple of weeks. Yeah, and it's a cup game, isn't it, against Newport or Eastleigh? You know, you think just give him 45 minutes. So even after he wasn't in the starting lineup, I was like, bring him on at half time, because I know John said before that if Martinez is on the pitch, the second goal doesn't happen. But I think if Casemiro comes on at half time, the second goal doesn't happen either, because Manu wouldn't have got suckered into the press. There would have been two of them there. I think the second goal could have been avoided there as well. I just think the substitutions from Ten Hag recently, not just today, recently have been questionable, to say the very least.
Yeah, I've got to agree, to be honest. I'm so disillusioned with what I'm seeing in terms of on the football pitch that I can't justify. I'm not Ten Hag out in terms of I would give him the job over 90% of these players, and I hope they do. My issue is from what I'm seeing with my eyes in terms of why we're playing Johnny Evans constantly when he's not the future of Man United. The season's not there to be rescued anymore. This was a massive, massive game. We spoke about it last night. It was absolutely massive that we won this game today for top four in particular. I don't think we'll get there anyway, but it was massive. Not a single player on that pitch played like it was a massive game for the top floor.
No.
That's what Højlund did.
Højlund did.
Højlund was class today. That's the best he's played since Champions League game.
He was good, and it's pretty. I agree. It was more like a Champions League performance from him. And again, I think he was let down by his service again was shocking.
I personally think I was watching it. It was the anniversary the other day. You know, that comeback against Villa in the FA Cup in 2010.
Yeah.
And I watched a replay of that 10 minutes.
Makeda?
No.
That was
FA Cup. Like, we were 2-0 down, and 5 minutes later we were 3-2 up. You know, like in the last 10 minutes. And I watched us how we played just to remind us, and it was like siege mentality, throwing everything at it. And it's like, where have we lost that? You know, you saw it with City yesterday. De Bruyne gets that equalised in the 76th minute, whatever it was. It's like, all one way, we're going to go for the win. And they got the winner. It's like, as soon as the last 10, 15 minutes, you've got to throw the kitchen sinker. I mean, yes, it wasn't a great performance, but you've got to learn to be like, right, we need to win. We're going to make sure we win this game. And yet we played like we were hoping for a chance rather than forcing the issue to create a chance. If you were played like that in the last 10 minutes, you would have created 3 or 4 opportunities at least. And one of them you might take rather than hoping for one, which came to McTominay. Yes, he should have done better. But if you're serious about winning, that shouldn't be the only chance you have to win the game in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, and to me, that is not down to the players. So players, yes, it is down to players in one aspect, but that has to be instilled by the manager, and that has to be. We all saw how badly Rashford was. We could all see it. You then bring on Anthony. What's that going to do? He's not got a goal and assist in 928 minutes of football.
He'll get one though. What
do you mean?
He'll get one eventually.
I could get one eventually, John.
Yeah, but
He's playing for Manchester United.
Yeah.
We can't be relying on players that are going to get one eventually. I know me and you had a little bit of discussion about Pelistri's minutes. Anthony's on 928 minutes this season. Pelistri's on something like 212
yeah,
over a 4-game span. Why is Pelistri not being sent on today? And even, do you know what? Like Ferguson
Pellistri can actually cross.
Well, back in the day, Ferguson would have sent Pelistri on. He'd have sent Anthony on. He would have sent Casemiro on, and he probably would have played bloody Johnny Evans up front. He would have done something. He wouldn't have just let it peter out.
The problem with crossing it, and I do agree, you got this thing about crossing it, into Hoyland and all that, but you can't just have Hoyland as the only option. If you're gonna cross, you got to have 3 or 4 bodies in the box. You've got to be collective. So it's like this. Why don't we cross? Yes, I agree. We don't get the ball to Hoyland, but why, as a team, aren't we going forwards and saying 3 of us getting in the box? Because then that increases your chances of scoring. Then, because if you cross the ball, it's got to be nigh on perfect to land it on Hoyland's head. Whereas if you have 2 or 3 options, he might miss it, but someone else might get it, kind of thing. So for me, it's just one of them that I don't understand why we do it. The other option is why not try Anthony on the left wing?
I mean, me personally, I'd try Anthony in the reserves, see whether that helps. But
I don't know if you noticed, but did you see when he got in down the right-hand side towards the end?
He stopped and turned back.
Well, it's interesting. He only gave Anthony 2 or 3 minutes today.
Yeah, but all you could hear when he stopped and turned back, all you could hear was the fans just go, oh, like that. That's all you could hear.
In fairness to Ten Hag also, I think he said in his press conference regarding Anthony, he said that yes, I do trust him as a player, but he's had issues off the pitch. He needs to do better. He did actually say in the press conference on Friday he needs to do better.
He's not going to say he's had an amazing season, is he?
No, but this point
you never know.
He's overprotects of him. He's actually saying yes, he's been bad. He needs to do better. So he did actually say it. He didn't try to overprotect him. So he said you gotta do better. So
So when's the social media post coming from Anthony? That's my question. Is that it's overdue then, isn't it? If he said it the other day. Surprised he's not come out and said, no, I've been training absolutely fine. I've been a world-class player this season. My question would be really then, Tone, is how bad must Pelistri be if he can't get in the team above Anthony?
I think when players'
Where's
days
Ahmad?
are numbered. What?
It's just hit me. Where was Ahmad? Is he injured still?
Ill.
Oh, for fuck's...
Yeah, he's ill, mate. For me, everyone's bloody ill at the moment, aren't they? You know what I mean? Like half the country's ill. Martial slipped his fingernail the other day. Couldn't fit his gloves
still
on.
ill regarding Martial.
You got to bless him. You know what I mean? Hopefully he gets the surgery he needs to fix that fingernail. But for me, I think, when a player's days are numbered, when you're not getting started over an absolute dumpster fire of a signing. And Anthony plays, let's be honest, because he was bought for that amount of money. He has to play some minutes because it warrants he's obviously trying to get his confidence up. He's trying to get things up. Like Pelistri is not Ten Hag's player. Ten Hag does not fancy Pelistri at all. We could play Eastleigh in a couple of weeks if Pelistri's still there. I still don't think he'd start for us.
I've literally just spotted as well on the bench. We had 2 goalkeepers.
Yeah, we've got
another absolutely baffling decision from a manager for me.
2 goalkeepers when we played the same one every single game, anyways, regardless.
Why? And
Heaton's got a job, can do a job up front, mate. That's what Ten Hag was thinking.
Yeah, we need to get him on for them 30-odd volleys.
See if we could trap some runners in midfield.
Surely Pioneer will play his first game.
I genuinely don't think it. I think Cameroon will get knocked out in before the next game, and Onana starts against Eastleigh or Newport.
Now it'll be Cameroon 2 weeks today, though.
So Cameroon can go out before the next game.
Yeah,
there is genuinely a possibility where Onana could be back with United.
When's our last game?
I think it's 2 days before the Eastleigh game.
Or Newport, right?
Or Newport.
Well, yeah, but
We want it all. Everyone wants it to
surely
be
not,
Eastleigh, don't they?
surely-
No, I agree, John. Surely not. But I'm telling you,
Surely
if
not.
Cameroon go out, Onana plays the next
Well,
game.
let's hope they go through.
That's it. Yeah. Well,
What's mad is this? We're saying this about a £50 million goalkeeper who was the Champions League's best goalkeeper last season, who was probably one of Inter Milan's best players last year, and we're saying we hope he stays at the AFCON for as long as he can, so we can see this other goalkeeper.
form
Oh,
should matter to him.
and you know what's mad is I bet India isn't even that bloody good after all this hype.
Do you
Because
know what? Yeah. Can
I've
you
watched
imagine
him play
he
a couple
comes
of
in
times.
and he makes a howler.
Yeah, he will. We'll lose to Eastleigh 1-0, and it'll be an absolute scuffer, like P roll that goes in the back of the net somehow.
89th minute under his body.
It's
And we'll all
got,
be getting clipped on YouTube for saying Onana's
See,
rubbish. And that,
we'll be
and
famous.
that.
but the thing is, though, like it's just getting to a point now where I think, like John said earlier, I think it'd be nice for Onana to go to the AFCON, get some confidence back, playing through his tournament. Hopefully, his country do really well. Cameroon, I hope they do really well. But like ultimately, I feel like he shouldn't have really played today. I don't think him playing today made a massive difference. I don't think being there does anything different to Onana. But Ten Hag has faith in him, and Ten Hag must. And obviously, when you've paid a certain amount for a player, they have to, whether we like it or not, they have to justify them playing, even though over an academy lad who's probably doing. Me personally, I think we should be starting the players who train the best and play the best. But there's my 2 cents about regardless of price or age. But Ten Hag sees it differently.
The same with.
Go on, Dan.
Sorry, Dan. No, I was just saying it's the same with Anthony as well. Like Anthony and Onana are Ten Hag's guys. Like he's spent big money on both of them. He isn't going to give up without a fight. He isn't going to drop Anthony and just take him out the squad altogether. He's not going to drop Onana. We just need to accept the fact that they're both going to be there for the foreseeable, and just hope they find some form.
Anthony's better than Sancho, put it that way.
Yeah, no, I'm not having that. Sancho's 100 times better than Anthony.
No,
If he turns up for
He
training,
is. He's 100. Mate, Anthony.
I'm going to
Sancho
settle
will
this.
get-
I'm going to settle this one as the host. They're both fucking rubbish.
Yes, they are. They are.
Sancho will get 10 goals and assists in the Bundesliga this second half of the
Anthony
season.
could do
I'd
that.
get 5 in
easily.
the Bundesliga. Tom.
Yeah, I reckon I could get 5. Did you see Sancho's goal? I genuinely could not goal. Sorry, assist. I couldn't believe how much space he was afforded. I've started watching German football, and it is mental. It is literally basketball every game. They do not care. We are entertaining our fans. Defense does not matter.
Did you hear that audio when he was walking off the pitch?
I did, yes, I did, yeah.
Yes, that was brilliant. It's like, say no, what's wrong with you? You lazy.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. No, but I mean, they've both been let downs. I wanted to move on to the next bit, which is a little bit of positive news. The Butcher is back.
Yeah, get in.
We've got to be happy with that. And by the way, did anybody see him floor Richarlison in the box?
Yeah.
Oh,
Fucking
it was
beautiful.
magnificent.
Absolutely beautiful. That's what we've missed.
I think he's back, and Casemiro should have been back. If Casemiro played today, I think we would have won that game. I do
It'd have
think
been a lot closer. It'd have
Maybe-
been
I think
maybe.
we would have won that game if Casemiro came on. If he brought Casemiro on for Eriksen,
It's the control in the midfield and shutting that
exactly.
gap. Yeah.
I mean, if it's like you're talking about controlling the midfield, and the conversation's like you got McTominay on the bench. It's like you got one of the best ever seen yet in history. I know he hasn't. I know he wasn't great at the start of the season, but goodness me.
It's just, when I say controlling the midfield as well, I'd just like to point out, I don't necessarily mean on the ball. I mean for the second goal in particular, if you had Casemiro or someone that is good in that position, there'd been a shout of, don't you can move, you stay still, don't press. And that would have made all the difference. And even then, an absolute pro in that position, Bentancur don't get in the box anyway because he's been fouled before he gets anywhere near it.
The other issue is Bruno. He presses like a headless chicken as well.
I feel sorry for Bruno because I made it like we saw Kevin De Bruyne come on for City, and I don't know whether if any of you watched the game.
I did.
He had basic free roam to do what he wanted, and what he didn't have to do was run around like a headless chicken. He basically was told to get on the ball, make simple passes, and then try some Hollywood balls if they were there. and he ended up getting a goal and assist because of it. And someone put some stats up today. It was like 78% passing percentage, blah, 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 3 chances created, goal and assist. Bruno has posted them same stats 55 times in the last year, but nobody can finish, and he can't seem to get in scoring positions because he's got nothing in front of him. And then people act like it's Bruno's fault. But he's posting that if Bruno was in the City team, he'd be on triple figures for goals and assists in the last 2 seasons. It would be absolute madness.
I'd love to see I'd love to see Fernandes in a really good United team. I think he's wasted in this crap.
At the point, like
yeah,
the point,
mate, he shouldn't be doing the pressing. He's too good a ball player to be doing that. I don't see why he's doing it either. Ten Hag needs to tell him your job is to feed balls and just be that pivot, just be that guy who just like De Bruyne does for Man City, but Bruno being the person he is and the desire in his game, and whether good or bad, he'll do everything. He'll try to do everything, which is a detriment to us because we miss out on his play. But yeah, I don't know, mate. I'm just waiting for the end of the season now. I'm not bothered anymore. I'm genuinely not bothered.
We got the FA Cup to win, so
mate, we're not winning that ever. We're not winning.
You get a half decent team away from home.
When Tottenham beat City.
Oh, that's not happening. Mate, Man City will win the treble now that De Bruyne is back. No, guaranteed.
They're home.
I bloody don't.
I did have I wanted to make a quite interesting point. I was fuming when McTominay came on, absolutely livid because it didn't fix our problem. I've got to say, he had the header, which he probably should have scored.
He should have scored, not probably, he should have.
And then we had another chance on the 64th, 65th minute. Is Rashford's running into the channel, and it is the easiest left-footed pass through the middle of the defence I've ever seen in my life to a completely open McTominay, who would, honestly, I think he would score. Like, I would put my house on him scoring because he's just that sort of player. So he actually did have a positive impact when he came on, just in a different way to what I saw the issues to be. He actually could have won us the game twice if Rashford had found him, and then obviously with the header. So, I mean, it wasn't that bad when he came on. He did all right. And then I wanted to point to something funny, actually. I don't know whether you noticed this, but I genuinely think this is what happened. The referee gave a free kick on Rashford. Right?
That's in the box.
That's in the box. Yeah, so why is it not a penalty? So I genuinely think that VAR has told the referee can't be a penalty. It wasn't a foul. But because you've given the free kick, it stays as a free kick. So can you imagine if...
Foul. It was a foul.
It definitely wasn't a foul.
No, it was a foul. It definitely was a foul.
He literally kicks the ball out of play.
No, it's a foul.
But anyway, he's 100% on the line. And if you're on the line, it's part of the box. So I think there's the thing there where they've said to the referee, we can't give a penalty for that, so just give the free kick. And it'd be interesting to see.
Is this the Pedro Porro one?
Yeah, the Pedro Porro one.
I think it was the right decision.
You think he was outside the box?
Based on the camera, unless they use different camera angles in the US.
Not every camera angle I saw, his foot was on the line.
It was on the line.
Well, I don't. Based on the camera,
it weren't a foul, but it was on the line.
It was outside the area. So.
I was looking at it and I was like, oh, he's given. I genuinely, honestly, I couldn't believe he gave the foul. I thought he was just shoulder to shoulder and he's poked it out with his foot. And then when he gave the foul, I was like, well, it's on the line. It's got to be a penalty.
I think.
And then when they didn't give the penalty, I was like, well, he's give the foul, so surely it's got to be a penalty. So I think if we would have scored from that, I think it would have been really interesting to see the outcome of it. If that Spurs would have had something to say about that, I think. And then my only last point that I had on this was I can't remember Vicario making a save in the second half.
No, he didn't. He didn't make a save all game, did he?
Yeah, we literally only had 2 shots on target, and then obviously
we didn't make a save in the game.
No, yeah. So we literally.
I don't want the keeper to save anything. I want us to bang it in the net.
Yeah, well, you've got to have shots to do that. So I just wanted to run through the full-time stats. And honestly, the worst reading than I thought. So we had 36% possession. We had 9 shots to Spurs' 16. We had 2 on target to their 6 on target. We had 8 corners to their 13, and we did 8 fouls to their 5.
We only have 5 less corners than them.
Yeah, it was
We
mad,
had a
wasn't it?
lot
Because he
of
got about
corners, to
8
be
in the first
fair.
half.
Yeah, we had it were a really end-to-end game, to be fair to it. Spurs were better than us, but like it were a proper end-to-end game.
The thing with the corners, it felt like they had more because they looked like scoring off them. We won't score off any corner if we play.
I could have sworn that. I thought they had about 20.
Yeah, there was definitely a thing in the first half where they did add quite a few.
I literally got back about 2 minutes before they equalised. And I was like, how
Well, you've got to stop watching, John, then, because if you missed the goal and then you came back just as they equalised.
No,
I
missed Garnacho's at Everton. I came back with 1-3-0. I missed the Liverpool game.
You didn't miss much that day, mate.
That's it. John's banned from watching.
That was under siege in our box, that were. Jesus.
So the last point I wanted to make.
I did watch the Villa game, though, and I was in Pittsburgh. So
what score was that?
3-2, wasn't it?
Was that where we scored at the end?
The Hoyland goal.
The one when we were 2-0 down.
Yeah. 2-0 down. Hoyland.
I watched
Honestly,
that.
I scrub some of these games from my memory instantly because I don't want them there anymore. So they go. Yeah, the last point I wanted to make, which is a big point, how much longer will these, I mean, they're not acceptable now, but how much longer will these performances carry on before it cost him his job? Obviously, Finn asked this earlier, which was thoughts on Sir Jim being present in the stands. So he's watched that performance today. He's then watched Ten Hag come on TV and basically say that we did all right. It was individual errors are the reason we didn't win, which yes and no. He also saw Hoyland say we was the better team, which Hoyland's fine because he can argue and say that he did play well enough to be on a winning team. Nobody else did. So is Ten Hag going to have an issue if this carries on, Dan?
He's not losing his job this season, mate.
Yeah. Do you think? Yeah. Do you think so?
He's not losing his job, mate. He could finish 13th. I don't think he's losing his job this season.
Do you think there's too much going off in the background?
I think that number one. Number two, I always look at it of when a manager goes, I always look before they go, who's going to replace them. And there's no one at the moment I think would come to United in the state they're in unless they're promised a lot of things. Any manager worth their salt, and I don't think at the moment there is one that I would have over Ten Hag just based on. I think I'd give Ten Hag, regardless of what happens this season, one more season to turn things around and implement what he wants. Because at the moment, it's been nearly 2 seasons. There's been flashes of things where I think it's his vision, but 95% of the time, I think it's just nothing. There's no identity to the football that he's trying to play. But I wouldn't give him to. I wouldn't sack him yet. I wouldn't sack it. I don't like the idea of sacking people anyway. But I'm saying even if he finished 30th this season, I wouldn't sack him. It's not. There's a lot of things going on that I don't think he's at fault for.
Yeah, fair. See, I'm the same as you in terms of. I would be fine finishing 13th if there was some sort of planning for the future, or I could see something where they're building for the future. If we're going to see for the rest of the season, Johnny Evans, Eriksson, McTominay, all coming in, starting games, playing poorly, starting games, and it just repeats, he can go tomorrow if that's what he's going to do. Because he's got to be something there that we can grasp onto as fans to say, I've said it loads of times this season, you can see what is happening at Chelsea and it's going to be positive for them in 12 months' time when the players have had that experience and it starts to gel together a little bit because they've mixed youth with vast amounts of money. But they've got a style and a way they're trying to do it, and it doesn't work some weeks and it does work other weeks. We've just got nothing and it's not working most weeks, but then it's the same every week. So what about you, Dan? What do you make of Ten Hag's future if it continues the way it's going?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same as you guys, really. I think with Ten Hag, I think we know that he isn't going anywhere this season. I think if anyone's going to get rid of him, it'll be in the summer if they're going to do it. But for me, I would give him the summer as long as they do back him. Get rid of whoever, even if it's somebody that people love like Rashford or whatever. If he wants rid of him, do whatever he wants, get his players in, back him, and then if it's still the same, come Christmas, come January next year, then you would look at getting rid. But for me, a lot of it is off the field as well, because if they get the right structure, they back him, they're getting the right players in that he wants, and then he's got no excuses. If it's still the same and he's got all the players he wants, he's got no excuses and he'd have to go.
Yeah, it's just an interesting one for me. I've mentioned it a few times. I don't know whether you agree, John. I'm of the opinion that not every youth player would make it at United, and not every big youth player can make it at United. But we seem to be selling players that, in my opinion, are good enough to be part of the Man United squad and haven't been the problem. You can't blame Garner for the problems at Man United. He never kicked a ball. You can't blame Fernandes for the problems at United. He never kicked a ball. Even somebody like Williams, who people have constantly said is not good enough, was part of a team that finished third and second. And then he shipped off and we're doing rubbish. But then it's his fault that we're rubbish. Surely there's got to be a plan starting to be implemented of Ten Hag's making so we can just grasp onto something positive. I can't keep seeing what we're seeing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the FA Cup. So
he's adamant it's coming.
No, I personally think that, I agree. You got to go to plan. And the problem is with, I do support Ten Hag, but it's like some of the things he's coming out with, like, we deserve to win today, and if we don't, I'm just like, is he saying that to protect them? I hope it's a very different story behind the scenes. And I hope that, you mentioned it. I don't think that somebody will start many games now. He hasn't started. He didn't start today, did he? And he didn't start Forest. Did he start against Villa? I'm not sure he did, but he'll come on as a sub. I think Casemiro will come back, I'm sure. But you got to look at the whole situation, and it is almost infestation at the club behind the scenes. And I think the benefit from today is Sir Jim being there. He claims to be a fan like us, but he's a fan that can do something about it, and I hope that's hopefully the one positive you can take today. And he thought that wasn't good. We got a long way to go, and you got to be serious about this. And that's the only positive I can take. But Ten Hag, I do agree. I can't see him going before the end of the season unless we have a load of, like, you lose 10 times in a row or something insane. I think he'll be here till the summer. But Patient might begin to wear thin if he keeps making his excuses. I hope in his talks with Ineos, that kind of thing, if they ask him, well, what are you talking about when you say this? If Sir Jim sees Ten Hag today, he's like, what do you mean by this? And if he does mean what he says, then, it's big problems for him. Let's be honest. Whereas hopefully he's saying it to protect the players, and hopefully behind the scenes he'll say this team ain't the level required. I'm just doing it. I'm trying my best with these all, but they're not good enough. Jesse March said this. Ralph Rangnick tried, and he realised quickly he couldn't implement a style with this team. And okay, there's been a few changeovers and all that. He has brought players in and spent a lot of money, and it's a big problem. But you still got to see that style. And I think the issue with the youth players that are going, I think it's quite simple to explain. We can't sell our dead wood. The only place we can sell is our promising youth who haven't had a chance. I agree when it comes to Fernandes. I don't know why we're doing it. I think it's just insane. But you can't. When you think about it, we turned down 30 million for Scott McTominay in the summer. And he's just like, John Murtough should be sacked today. He should go now. It's just insane how he's running it. And if he stays, then I don't know what to say.
He's not staying. He's not staying.
I think he's pretty much going on gardening leave, isn't he?
He's got to go. It's an embarrassment what is going on at that club. So, but hopefully we'll see in the Gunners time. He has given plays, and I think you see with Mainu and Garnacho, those players do look ready for the first team, and they are players who you can see develop in the future. So you can't say he hasn't given youth a chance, and the youth he has given a chance, they have delivered some degree. Whereas the ones like Palestri and all that, you could argue, yes, he perhaps should have been given more opportunity, but when he did have an opportunity, he didn't exactly make the most of that opportunity. That's what I would say. But yeah, there are some baffling decisions, and it's a circus.
So Connor's just made some fantastic points. He's late to the show. 2 points dropped. Can't be arsed. Nothing more to add. Simply soz. Just literally summed up the show in 6 comments.
Connor, while you're here, how did that narrow win you thought we'd get against Newcastle go today?
Yeah, I've seen some of this on social media.
It looked close until the 4th goal.
Looked close until half time and it was 3-0.
I was watching this all for Women's Football Channel, which they've established this week. And I watched replay of it because it was during the Wigan game. And he had a couple of Arsenal fans a bit easier than I thought. Yes, well, I predicted 4-0, and I was right until the stoppage time goal made it 5. But there were a couple of Arsenal fans, and they said, "Oh, I like a shot. I predict a Newcastle win because they're in the 3rd tier." I was like, "Oh, they've not lost a game all season, all that." Yeah, they're in the 3rd tier. Come on.
I want to answer this as well. I believe he's left-footed.
Yeah, he is.
He's left-footed. Yeah. So yeah, I mean.
Well, then again, Johnny Evans is right-footed.
Yeah, who knew? I mean, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Johnny Evans is right-footed.
This should be a game show during the 2-week break. What foot is each player? You know what I mean?
We need to fill some show gaps, so we'll have to see.
There's one person that we shouldn't really mention him because of what he's done, but there's one player in particular we're like, is he left-footed or right-footed? Isn't there?
There is, yeah.
Like higher or lower, like Bruce's play your cards right, but with feet, with footballers' feet. You get the foot fetish gang in the crowd. You know what I mean?
Can someone remind me what foot Anthony uses? Because I'm not sure.
None of them. None of them.
I'm sure he's only got 1 foot.
Yeah.
Spins around.
He'll score against Newport or Eastleigh.
And that's
it.
And then
confidence builder them. Confidence builder
He'll
against
get one, I promise you. He'll get one soon, Anthony.
Against Dave the Decorator.
Anthony's going to get us a big goal at some point, I'm sure of it.
He's going to score the winning goal in the FA Cup final, John. I'm going to jump on this bandwagon with you. It's going to happen.
Yes. Against City.
He needs to get 15 goals
against...
before the end of the season for me to win 20 quid.
He needs to get what?
50. I've got a handshake bet with my friends that I said he'd get 15 goals in all competitions this season. Anthony. I thought he was going to kill it this season. I genuinely thought he was going to kill it this season. And I've never been so wrong.
I didn't know you was the kind of person just want to give money away. If you want to give money away, just drop me a message afterwards.
You know what? At the start of the season, I thought who's going to be someone that is going to have a really good season. And I don't know why. I thought Anthony was going to kill it this year. And he's been, so I've jinxed him. So it's on me, unfortunately.
Right, yeah. So we'll call it quits there. I don't know when we're back live.
In fairness, Dan also said Sancho will get more goals and assists than Anthony this season.
And by the way, he's winning.
Yes, but you weren't expecting a loan at Dortmund.
I didn't say which club he'd do it at.
No. But if Anthony gets one...
Then they level. That's it.
No, if Anthony gets one, he'll have more assists.
Does it count if it's against Eastleigh, though?
They
all count. They all count.
Yeah, I don't care. As long as
you can
score 15 against Eastleigh, I'll be happy with that. Yeah, we'll call it quits there. I don't know when we're going live. Maybe Connor can enlighten me. I've got the memory of a sieve. Barry's told me all this 15 times, and I just forget constantly. I just wanted to have one more say on the club and where we're at. You all raise really good points about the future of the youth, etc. It's just really worrying to me that if behind the scenes Ten Hag is going and saying these aren't up for it, they're not good enough, while they then being picked still. Because if I was a manager and a player was letting me down week after week after week after week, I don't care what his name is, he wouldn't be playing anymore. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, obviously, in the winter break or whatever it is that it's called these days. Hopefully, we'll have a few shows in the middle that will be a little bit more positive. And hopefully, once this is over, the results pick up a bit. We have got 6 or 7 supposed to be coming back from injury. Someone asked earlier what's happening with Maguire. As far as I'm aware, he's still injured. Obviously, we've got the only world-class player left at United coming back in Luke Shaw. So that should spur us on. So it's not all negative. There are some positives. And I think once he can put out his very best lineup, we might see a little bit more.
I think as soon as you get Martinez and Casemiro back in the team, I think we can improve.
And sure.
Yeah.
It can't be any worse, can it?
It can't be any worse. No,
it can. As Mick McCarthy said.
No, let's not say that. Right. So we'll see you on the next one. It's been a fantastic show. We'll see you all later.